Have you ever opened the Bible, started reading, and just felt completely lost? Or maybe even a little bored? Hey, you are not alone. It happens to a lot of us. But what if the problem isn't the book at all? What if it's the way we've been taught to approach it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into, using some great ideas from Faith Womack's book. Life is messy, right? It almost never unfolds in a perfect straight line. And this quote really nails it. Our own stories aren't always linear. The Bible is a lot like that. It's not one simple, straight-ahead narrative. It's this beautiful, complex, and totally fascinating collection of writings. So here's the first big shift in thinking we need to make. Let's stop calling the Bible a book and start thinking of it as a library. The author, Faith Womack, talks about this scrappy old book she loved as a kid that told a story using a mix of letters, photos, and even newspaper clippings. Well, the Bible does the exact same thing. It's a whole collection, an entire library of different documents that all come together to tell one grand story. And just like any library you'd walk into, this one has different sections, different genres. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't read a cookbook the same way you'd read a sci-fi novel, would you? Of course not. And it's the same deal here. Inside this biblical library, you've got everything from the super passionate love poetry in Song of Solomon to some pretty intense, almost horror-like stories in the book of Judges to personal letters that were written to the very first churches. Each one was meant to be read a little differently. Okay, so this brings us to the core idea for how to actually navigate this incredible library. It's a mindset, a new approach, that we're going to call studenthood. And trust me, it can make these ancient texts feel brand new. All right, so the big question is, how in the world do we handle all these different styles and genres without just getting totally lost? Well, the key, the absolute game changer, is to become a student of the text. And studenthood is all about curiosity. It's not about pretending you have all the answers. It's actually about learning to ask better questions. You start to wonder, who actually wrote this and when did they write it? Who was their original audience? And what kind of writing is this anyway? It's like becoming a detective for the text. Now, when you start thinking like a student, it helps you get past a really common trap. And that's the idea of a simple, literal reading of the Bible. It turns out it's actually a little more complicated than that. And this is so important to get. We all interpret things, all day, every day. When you get a text message from a friend, you're interpreting their tone, right? The Bible is no different. Like the slide says, even a so-called literal reading requires us to interpret. Interpretation isn't a bad word. It's just how we make sense of anything we read. This is just a perfect example. Psalm 91 says, God will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you'll find refuge. Now, nobody reads that and seriously thinks God is a giant bird, right? Of course not. We instinctively immediately know it's a metaphor. It's a beautiful picture of safety and protection. See? We're already interpreting. We do this kind of genre spotting all the time in our daily lives without even thinking twice about it. Let's just look at a quick modern example. I mean, think about it. You would never ever read your uncle's latest all-caps tweet with the same level of trust you'd give a peer-reviewed medical journal, would you? You automatically adjust how you read based on the source and the style. You know one is just a casual opinion, and the other is supposed to be precise, factual information. You see? You're already an expert at this. This whole big idea of studenthood is really just about taking that skill you already have and applying it to the different books inside the biblical library. You totally got this. So, once we get a handle on genre, the next really big question is, who was this originally written for? This, my friends, is where studenthood becomes so powerful. Understanding the original audience can literally change everything. Okay, let's take a story we all know, the ultimate underdog tale, David and Goliath. But the way we usually tell that story today, it might not be how it was meant to be heard in the first place. So today, we often read it, and the first thing we think is, what are the giants in my life? How can I be brave like David? It becomes all about me, right? It's very individual. But now, just imagine for a second that you're an ancient Israelite living in exile. You've lost your home, your country, your temple, everything. If you heard this story for the first time, it wouldn't be about you as an individual. It would be this incredibly powerful promise that God is faithful to his people as a community, and that he can save them even when all hope feels completely lost. It's the exact same story, but understanding who it was for originally just unlocks this incredible new layer of depth. It doesn't mean the story can't speak to our personal struggles, but it shows us that the story is so much bigger than just us. It's about God's faithfulness to his people throughout all of history.
So what does this all mean for you, when you're opening your Bible on a random Tuesday morning? Well, it means you get to embark on your own journey as a student.
And let's be really clear about something. This is not a test. It's not a performance where you have to get a perfect score to impress anybody. It is simply an invitation to be more curious, to go a little deeper, and to find a lot more wonder in these ancient texts. I absolutely love this quote from the book. Studenthood is not meant to be another heavy thing on your to-do list. It is not a burden. It is a gift, a real privilege that we have the resources and the freedom to engage with the Bible in this way. The truth is, it's a journey, not a final destination. You're never going to finish the Bible or learn everything there is to know. And honestly, that's the whole beauty of it. It's a lifelong adventure of discovery, where every new thing you learn is just another reason to be in awe.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What could you discover if you start to see the Bible not as a rule book, but as a library? Not just as a text, but as a grand unfolding story. What treasures are just waiting there for you if you decide to become a student of that story?